Welcome to the Ages of Rock podcast with your hosts Bill Algie, Dennis Talbot, and Alan Tate. We are three guys who have one thing in common, a love of rock and roll. Our goal is to talk about all things rock. We hope you find this show intriguing, funny, and occasionally highly opinionated. Enjoy!
Hey, welcome to Ages of Rock podcast. This is episode number 79, and we have a special guest tonight. He's sitting somewhere on this row amongst us, and he looks a little different than the rest. His beard's longer, right?
One of these is not like the other.
That's exactly right. So we have Jaymi Pinkbassman Millard joining us tonight, and we're going to let Jaymi introduce himself, tell him a little bit about himself, and we're going to have a great show tonight. We're excited about this. We were supposed to do this last week, and got derailed. Jaymi got called off to go play with Mark Slaughter. So I would ditch the three of us for that too, man. I would ditch those two in a heartbeat. So
it is what it is.
Yeah. So, Jim, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you kind of got into music, and then we'll just start having a conversation and free flow, and that's how we work. And nice shirt, by the way.
Well, it's Gene. So, give a little kiss love there,
There you go.
So let's see, how to get into music. Well, let's see. When my mother was pregnant with me, she played accordion. She had a combo. And she had a drummer, a sax guy, and an upright bass player. So I got music in the womb.
There you go.
How about that? There's a starting point way back when. Yeah, way back when. So ultimately what that came down to is junior high school, elementary school. Yeah, elementary school, playing saxophone. And that was an adventure unto itself. And so I learned to read music. I learned to do all those things. And I think probably about the time I was 12, moving forward, about the time I was 12, I found Black Sabbath. And that was pretty much
we can do this
the end
again,
of the
y'all.
Oh, yes, we can do this now. It's not trademarked. Neither is this one.
Yeah. And Jaymi, not to interrupt you, but you're how old now? I'm just kind of give us a general.
How old am I?
Yeah, just give
40.
us a general
40s.
Okay, there you go. Well, I'm 52, so 51 actually.
Damn, you're old.
52 next week, bitches. I expect something.
Well, yeah. Two of us here are in our 40s, so we're not totally senile tonight.
Yes. Well, as long as everybody's got their depends on, everything's fine. We're good.
Forgot.
I'm not taking that offer tonight. Sorry.
No.
Go ahead,
that was not at you.
Duly noted. Duly noted. Holy hand signs are directed elsewhere.
Okay. Yeah, there you go.
So anyway, I realized at some point that playing Black Sabbath on a baritone saxophone was not possible. No matter how big and how deep the thing was and how amazing the sound was, you just couldn't do it. So anyway, back to my mother for a second. She had this 1942 K upright bass in the lounging in the living room, just stuck up in the corner like a piece of furniture. Apparently, when I was in utero, my father played that thing with my mother on her combo. So it sat in the living room for years and years and years, and one day I decided, hey, I'm going to start messing with this. And that just kind of took it off. And probably, 3-4 years later, I got sick of playing Black Sabbath, playing like this. Excuse me. And so I went and rented an electric bass and sat down and transposed all of the music. And because I was already reading music from playing saxophone. And so I had to learn how to read bass clef. So I bought 2 songbooks. Now, mind you, we're talking about the 80s here. So in the 80s, you could go into a music store and buy a songbook that was nothing but notes. There was no tab. There was no put your fingers here and do all this. It was notes. So I had to sit down and transcribe and figure out what note was where as I was playing through War Pigs, for example. So that kind of put me on the road. And I ended up playing in bands. I grew up in the Chicago area, so I am not a Southern by heritage person. I live here. I've been living in the South now for, 28, 29 years, but I grew up a big old Yankee boy in the city. So I played around Chicago. I played with bands of all different varieties, and it started, it rolled. Junior college hit. I was playing in bands in high school. So funny. There was a lot of people in high school that, and again, we're talking timing here. You had the jocks on one side and you had the musicians on the other. Anybody recognize that story?
Oh yeah.
That one?
Oh, yeah.
So there was no cohesion between the two. There was always this, hey, we're the jocks and you're the musicians and you suck and we're better than you. We get all the hot chicks, all that stuff. So I was built like a jock, but I played music. So they didn't accept me anyway. So we had some fun and I got into all kinds of trouble. And so I just kept going back to music and kept playing. And, it's funny. Somewhere along the way here, one of you asked me early on before the show here about Innocent Monday. And Innocent Monday was a band that I was a founder of about 3 years ago now. And I actually, in the special thanks section on the CD, I gave thanks to a person from my high school who actually was like either the head cheerleader or one of the head cheerleaders, and she was absolutely the coolest. She encouraged me like nobody else. So I gave her special love and thanks in the credits on the album. And if it wasn't for her encouragement during those funny, weird times between the jocks and the musicians, I probably would have not done this. I would have probably stopped along the way because, it was that time, trying to figure it all out. Awesome. So without going too deep on you there, I mean, it was one of those things, and it was cool. And so, when I went to a high school reunion, I told her, and, it was so cool. It was just hug and love and everybody and all that. It was fine. So, I kept doing that all through high school into college. That's when I moved south, and I went to school for music. And ironically, I didn't take a bass lesson until I was in college. I was actually self-taught, taking the saxophone and shifting everything over and, going with it. So, here we go. Onward and forward. So, as you all have probably seen now, I have an alter ego, also known as the Pink Bassman. And that's why, as I was joking earlier, all of the basses have this nice kind of hue of pink to them. This is just one of those examples. They're all different shades. They're all different sizes and all that screwy stuff. And so, that's the intro to the bass player.
Well,
awesome.
When you say you've got the nickname the Pink Bassman, is that something that you came up with on your own, or did someone bestow that upon you?
No, actually, what's funny about that, I was sitting watching a music DVD because I have a stash of them, and I was watching Level 42 live at Wembley from '86. And okay, it's not metal, it's not rock, but it's this, Mark King is a badass when it comes to slapping. So I'm watching this show, and I'm admiring the guitars, and out comes this pink, what I found out later was a JD bass made in England, made in Birmingham, as a matter of fact. And I was like, I want one of those. And so you can't see it right this minute, but on the rack, I have one of those. So it became that thing. So I had this pink bass, and I had a rack of all these other colors. And I'm looking at these going, how cool would this be if all of these were pink? So you got, a Fender, a Rickenbacker, all these things. How badass would it be? How cool would it be if all these things were shades of pink? So that's what I started to do. I took advantage of that thought, and I started swapping guitars out. And I'd swap out, and I'd get something else, and then I would have it painted. Or for some of those who are very familiar with what I've been doing the last couple of years, I get tagged. Like Facebook, for example, everything pink I get tagged. There's pink Mustangs, literally the 65 Mustang car. There's a pink Air Force jet on my page because I get tagged with anything pink. Poof, it goes to the Pink Bassman. Right. So, it was my kind of thing. And it just kind of kept rolling and snowballing. And people at first thought I was a lunatic, thought I was nuts, thought I was off the wall, whatever. And what's really funny is everybody who kind of came along and said, "Ooh, that's weird," are all going, "Dude, that's so cool" right now. So I have a room full of pink basses, including an upright, and
that's cool.
Kind of fun. Yeah. So that's how the Pink Bassman came about.
I find it really interesting, like you said, as far as because kids today don't realize how easy they got it if they want to either start playing guitar or start playing bass. I mean, between the tablatures and the YouTube videos, to this day, I play in a cover band. If I don't want to sit down and figure out something, I just pull up YouTube, I put in there and basically guitar tutorial and learn it just like
Yep.
that. I don't even have to do anything.
Right.
But back in the day, and I couldn't even read music. So me, it was taping it off a radio, missing the first 10 seconds of the song, figuring that out for my own. But I'm saying, what you did, happened to have to transcribe, actual sheet music into that.
Yep.
I mean, kids don't realize how easy they have it now. I mean, it's one of those things where it's tough. It was tough back then to do that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean,
But I think it helped out, though. It actually made you a better musician because it made your ears hear better. Somebody wasn't just telling you that. You had to actually hear it. You had to feel it. You had to do, find it at that point.
Yeah, you didn't have a person sitting in front of you on a YouTube screen going, okay, put your fingers like this, then like this, then like this.
Exactly.
There wasn't any of that. You had to figure it out. And the irony is, if you think about those days, very few music videos. Yeah, I know that MTV was there and everything, but you didn't get to see like really hardcore stuff. It was just whatever they were showing. Right. That was the top 40 or whichever, if you were watching the metal show or whatever. So, you didn't see Rush Vital Signs on MTV.
Right.
That
and if they did show it, it was probably they were playing along with it anyway, probably not even playing the right stuff. So if you seen them actually playing something on the fretboard itself, it probably wasn't the actual note. It was just like,
because it was a lip sync.
I'm just.
Yep.
Let's not talk about Milli Vanilli, but anyway.
That's cool, though.
That's right. So,
all righty.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
So what do you got rolling now?
Well, it's funny. I've got a couple things. There's a couple of items in the works, and there's one thing going. And of course, you mentioned that you wanted me to show off some things. So this is going to be a little hard because of the lighting in here. But this is the.
Pull it back.
There we go. Hey, look at that. This is the Mark Slaughter Halfway There solo album that was released on May 26th. This is actually the picture disc. So this, here's your. I'll put it up here so you can see it. There's a nice little part of the album art, and there's the song list and all that cool stuff. Again, since we're in the light here, Mark Slaughter.
Right.
So this album was released on May 26th, and I played on 6 of the 10 songs, and then we co-wrote one of them. So there's one of the songs in there is called Reckless. He and I did a co-write for that, and that came out really, really well. Pretty cool.
So how did you get hooked up with Mark? I mean, I guess living in Nashville. Is that how that happened?
Again, there's another fun story. I was actually working with a guy to promote his basses. They were called Retronics basses, and he had made an arrangement with well-known producer Michael Wagner, who lives here, by the way.
Yep.
To go over to his studio and make an infomercial type video. And I agreed that I would help him, and I would be the interviewer, kind of like what you guys are now, and talk about the guitars, talk about plans, talk about what's happening, etc. Anyway, while I was there, Michael Wagner, now his studio is unbelievable, and he's got about 150 guitars across one wall.
Wow.
So when you walk into his studio, you're looking at this massive wall of guitars, and it's like, okay, that one played on White Lion, that one played on this, that one played on that. And the solo for this song on this album was played on this guitar.
Wow.
And he had a Rickenbacker up there, and I'm like, hey, can I see this? Because I have a fondness for those. And so I'm kind of messing with it and, whatever, playing around with it. And I said, I have a way to make this a lot more intense than it is now. He's like, what do you need? I said, a soldering iron and a pair of snips. So...
And he said yes.
Did it scare the hell out of
him? After we were done doing that, I took the guitar apart and I did the modification, and all of a sudden he's like, "Ooh," So it was good. Ironically, side note, that specific bass was used to record the last Deep Purple album.
Wow.
And it's Roger Glover signed it and all. It's hanging in his studio with Roger Glover's scribble all over the pickguard now. But anyway, that guitar, and I told him, I said, if you have other things, I can fix things while I'm here, no problem. If you see something. So I made a few adjustments on things. And about 2 or 3 weeks later, I went back, and he was doing a recording session for the Kemper modeling amp. He has something, it's a set of plugins called the Michael Wagner Rock Pack, the MW Rock Pack. And so I carried over a Marshall bass amp, a big old tube head, and a couple of Trace Elliott cabinets and a bunch of basses. And I ended up being the sound guy for all of those tones. So if you listen to anyone who has a Kemper modeler and they have the Michael Wagner Rock Pack, I'm the one who did all the bass sounds with Michael Wagner. So again, going back through the rest of this, he basically made a comment to me, something to the effect of, "Oh, you're a real bass player, blah, blah, blah. There's someone you should meet." I said, "Okay, no problem." And I didn't think anything of it. And then about 2-3 weeks later, again, I'm getting a call, and it's Mark Slaughter. And Mark Slaughter is saying, "Hey, Michael Wagner said we should connect. Love to talk to you. Let's get together and hang out, make some noise, etc." And so we did. And I went over to his studio, and I took the bass I showed you earlier. I took that with me, and we started to make some noise. And it was like really easy, cool, fun time to write songs. It was not where songwriters talk about it takes, an eternity to write a song, or they're gripping on a word or gripping on some notes or something. This was just so smooth. It was like it had been planned that way, So,
Awesome.
One thing led to another. We wrote a couple of tunes, and then Mark started to tell me about, he's putting together this album, etc. And we'd written this song called Reckless, and it starts off with a bass riff and all that kind of thing, because that's part of what I took to the table for it. And it ended up on the record. And so I offered, I said, obviously, you've done, because he did all the bass parts. He ended up playing all the bass parts on the record. And I told him, I said, if you like, I'd love to play a few more of these, kind of give some balance and some different stuff, because they're going to hear, your bass sound, and then they're going to hear Reckless and go, huh, well, that's something different. So he agreed. And I took this one and my apparently infamous pink double neck bass to the studio, and I tracked 6 out of the 10 songs. And actually, if you get the Japanese version, there's 11, because there's a bonus, so it's 7 out of 11 on the Japanese release. Cool. So that's how it came about. And
that's awesome.
we've had a lot of fun, and he's a really great guy. I mean, I'm not saying that because I'm saying that because he is really a great guy.
I've heard that. I've actually heard that by a bunch of people say he's just a super duper nice guy.
He is, and
down to earth.
He is. He's a down to earth guy. He loves his fans. He takes the time with his fans, which is awesome, and they love him just as much.
That's awesome.
So we did this gig on Thursday night at Dingbats in Jersey, and it was off the hook. So it was Mark and I, and then a guitar player named Mike Himmel, who is amazing, and then the legendary Bobby Rock, the drummer.
Exactly.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Love me some Bobby Rock.
Well, it was half of the Vinnie Vincent invasion.
Exactly. So are you going to do the whole solo tour with him then?
Yes.
On bass? Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome.
Every date that pops up, I will find a pink bass stashed somewhere in the floor. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So it's an exciting time, and the fact that the record's out, and there was the first single is called "Hey You," and "Hey You" is actually on the Billboard charts. I'm not sure if it is now or not. I haven't checked, but last time I looked, it was at number 25 on the Billboard charts.
Cool.
Well, when Bill said that you were coming on, I went to, of course, Spotify and pulled it up, and I was like, "Oh, it's on there." And I tell you what, I've listened to this album. I mean, it's been continually listening to it. It's a fucking kick-ass album, dude.
Yeah, it's got teeth and gonads like nobody's business.
Exactly. And I said, I was just one of those things where whenever I was like, and I even I'm starting it right there.
Ready to rock. Huh?
But the whole point was, and I'm just surprised that Disposable. Did you play on that one also?
Yes. Yeah.
That one there. Why is that not on the radio? A hit.
That's a good question.
That song has got a hook. It's got a hell of a hook on it, and it's one of the ones that caught me as I was listening to it, going, "Holy shit, this is a radio hit right here." I mean, it is. It's really good. No, the whole album is good, and like I said, that's why I even messaged you earlier in the week talking about your other band, but which we'll get into at some point. But
sure, yeah.
I love this program for the fact that it does introduce me to music that I probably wouldn't have found. That was off my radar. I love Slaughter, but I didn't know Mark had a new album out or a solo album out.
See, I've noticed something that I heard Eddie Trunk talk about this the other day, because Eddie Trunk is very passionate about that very thing right there. If you're a fan of an artist, his amazement and his commentary was that, he's amazed that people who follow certain musicians lost track at some point, or somehow they think the musicians have disappeared or something has changed. And, he explains his point of view, et cetera. And, it's fascinating to me because, there are bands that I like that I have no idea where they are, and kind of being in the mix of all this has really kind of reignited for me the opportunity to look up and see, well, what was my favorite band from XYZ time? What are they doing? Where are they?
Sure.
So it's kind of that thing. So, this is kind of fun in a way, because here for you didn't know that Mark had an album out, and
right.
Slaughter, the band Slaughter, hasn't released an album, I think, since '98, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a long
It's been
time.
a while. And so, so Mark being the artist that he is, really creative flow that comes from Mark. And, it's really hard to ford up or dam up the river.
Right. And Mark's had a couple other solo albums out besides Slaughter. I mean, he's put out some other things.
Yeah, there's one other one before this one.
Right.
And, this one is obviously different. The other one's great in its own way, in its own right as well, because of the songs, sure, because of what's on there. This one, he designed to be a vinyl album, because the mindset here, or the thought process behind this, was to take a group of songs and make sure they flow, and then have it in such a way to where you could put it on a piece of vinyl, and it would be like you were stepping back when we were younger, going into the record store and flicking through all the LPs to find that thing that you were looking for.
Right.
And having the experience of putting it on a turntable and kicking back and enjoying the ride, And
yeah. Bill being one of those, the first song's got to kick some ass. The first song kicks some ass, Yeah,
I just can't. That's the thing for me with albums or CDs or whatever you download. If that first song does not just get me right off the bat and hook me, I'm done. I mean,
I understand.
We've been doing some research for a show coming up that we're going to work on Wednesday, and there's been a couple of those albums that we listened to, and I'm like, dude, I can't even the first song, I'm like, this sucks. I got nothing. I'm freaking done, and I'm moving on. But this, I agree with Dennis. I mean, so whenever I talked to you that Friday, I downloaded it right then and started listening to it. And I texted these guys, I said, you guys have got to get on this, because this is some great stuff. I mean,
it's like with me, I'm like going, oh, holy shit, this shit's great. Now I'm hooked,
Yeah. So I was supposed to go to a concert Friday night that got rained out, and I had a buddy of mine and I, with me in the car, and I'd taken him home, and on the way home I was playing. I said, have you heard who Mark Slaughter is? He said, oh yeah. And I said, well, he has a new album out. And I said, so I started playing it for him.
Mm-hmm.
And are you on Supernatural as well?
Yes.
I mean, that has to be somebody special. That come on, man. That's freaking awesome.
I can tell you, because I have the song list, I can tell you that.
Okay, I'm kind of curious to see you.
Let's see, Halfway There, Forevermore, Turn It, and Hey You. I actually did not play on. That's Mark playing bass on those four.
Okay.
So
I started playing that.
All the heavy ones, aside from Hey You, I'm playing on.
Yeah. So I started playing that song, and I have the bass turned up a little bit in my car anyway, and he's like, that is badass. And I'm like, yeah, and that badass dude's going to be on my show on Friday.
Well, we opened.
I'm in our show, but you get the picture.
Yeah, I get
No, it's me show. I heard that.
Well, just think about the first time you heard Destroyer and Detroit Rock City bowled you over.
Yeah.
Same idea.
It's hard to not listen to this and just wait for the next song. You're just like, there's no, for me on this at least, there was no skip song.
Right.
So I was a big Slaughter fan. And like I said, when you told me, and then Jamie's coming on and he was on this, I'm like, oh, okay, a solo album, okay. So I came into it with really low expectations, not nothing against you or anything, but I was like, okay, somebody solo, and I was like, holy shit, this is just as good as any of the Slaughter albums that I ever heard. And and like I said, there was some of those like I said, the ones I was telling you about. I mean, there's a bunch of radio hits on that album. I mean, it could be, if you find the right station. I mean, there was a lot.
Well, now we got to figure out how to help him get played, because I was, we were chatting and
I've been telling everybody.
It's how do you get new rock played? Because I can't find a new rock station anywhere. I mean, they're all playing old stuff, or it's an alternative station playing something, and I can't figure out how to get new rock played. There wasn't a station in Indianapolis, and I clicked it on Friday and listened all the way home and was rocking out. And on Monday I turned it on, and it was they changed the format and destroyed. It wasn't that, but it might as well have been.
Format. I've heard that shit.
Here comes the polka. Yeah, we're gonna do the polka next, right?
Yeah, but it's just it's hard. That's a struggle. I mean, that's got to be difficult for you guys, because there's so much great stuff on here, and to get it heard.
Of course, you're in Nashville too. So Nashville, every other station's a country station.
We were
in Pigeon Forge here a month ago, and we were jokingly going, let's just listen to radio. And I'm telling you what, we found one listenable station. It was either religious or it was country.
Right.
We found one.
In East Tennessee, that is pretty much.
Yeah, you're in the Bible Belt, brother.
Well, I know, of course, I know that. But Nashville's a little different. Nashville's a little more progressive than East Tennessee. And that's no offense to East Tennessee. It's just they are rooted and grounded in certain things, and that's totally cool. To answer your question, this record is released on EMP label, which is Dave Ellefson's label from Megadeth.
Okay.
So they kind of have some connections as far as getting rock out there. One of the things that these days is easily understood and is pretty clear is that many of the radio stations are corporate. So there is a computer that programs for X number of stations, and then they'll occasionally have a DJ come in and make a little chatter and then go back to whatever it is. But there are other stations, like, for example, here in the Nashville area, that would be 105.9 The Rock. That's the corporate station. You can hear Leonard Skinner and Led Zeppelin every 2 hours,
right?
Which is fine. And they throw some different things in there. But there's another station called 102.9 The Buzz. And The Buzz is actually they call it an alternative station, but in reality, they play metal. And, so I believe Hey You has been on that station here locally.
Cool.
Yeah, because that is the first single. And there's been talk about pushing Devoted out as the second single. Ironically, we opened the show with Devoted, so it's like coming out with a Sonic Assault.
Yeah.
Which is really cool, because it's, for the fans of Slaughter and for Mark's fans, et cetera, just as him and the band together and individually, they're used to hearing Flight of the Angels and Up All Night and Wildlife and all those great songs. Sure. And when we hit them with Devoted, it was like, wow, because they didn't know what to expect. And then the one came after that was Conspiracy. So there were two just big pounders right on the beginning of the performance.
Right.
And then we kind of found our way back to, all the other cool stuff that they've done, plus the stuff that's off the record.
So in the show you guys did at Dingbats in New Jersey, how many songs off the new album did you cover?
There were 4. There was Devoted, Conspiracy, Hey You, and Reckless.
Cool. Oh, they got your song in there. That's cool. You didn't have anything to do with that, did you?
Not a thing. No. I mean, when we talked about putting together the set list and what we wanted to accomplish and what we wanted to give to the fans, was we wanted to give them a cross section. So we pulled out some of the heavy hitters from the new album. And then, we revisited some of the Slaughter tunes that people really listen for, the ones that really touch people. And then we snuck in a Vinnie Vincent Invasion song.
Which one did you do?
That Time of Year. It's
Really?
off of All Systems Go. That's the record Mark sang on.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
wow.
there was a mass. It was really cool because, to pull out a song like that, first off, that no one, period, has heard live in 28 or 29 years.
Or would expect.
Exactly. I guess the effect that the song has emotionally on people was really cool. It was really touching, because people were, some of the folks, they were almost near tears, because they were in sheer amazement that we would pull that song out.
Wow.
And they're looking at one half of the original Vinnie Vincent Invasion playing it for them on the stage.
Exactly.
So it was a really neat, really cool thing, to be a part of. And we're going to continue doing things like that. That's what it takes. And, again, as we mentioned earlier, Mark is very in tune with his fans, and he likes to give them little treats and surprises. And this is one of those things to give him a special thank you, because, here we have him and Bobby Rock. Why not?
Right.
Yeah, that is way cool. I think, if I'm not, is Mark scheduled to be at the Rockin' Pod Expo, right? Isn't that right?
I think so.
Yeah, I think he is. I think
he is going to be there. I didn't know if he was actually confirmed or not.
I think he's one of those guests that he's going to be there if he doesn't
have another gig or something like that. Yeah.
Well, Jaymi, you're going to be there, aren't you?
Depends on which. Well, that depends.
Well, depends on who's playing, right?
It depends on
if it's Slaughter, if it's the Slaughter band, or if it's Mark Slaughter band.
But you live in Nashville, right?
Yes.
Well, then come by and say hi. That's all. Are you in a music store too there in Nashville, or associated with a music store in Nashville, or was maybe, or?
I have. There's a couple of connections that I have. Corner Music is like the flagship for me for music stores. I think
that's the one I was seeing videos from and all that stuff that you were talking about.
Yeah, we were messing around with the little pink guitar matching my pink shoes and all that stuff. Yeah, that was a Corner Music. Great bunch of guys. I have been a part of business deals at Corner Music for the past 29 years.
Right.
Does Todd Zilla work at Corner Music?
Todd Zilla's Home Away from Home.
Yeah, I thought that name sounded, the store name sounded familiar.
Yep. That would be where you would find Todd Zilla in all his purple glory when he's not playing guitar.
Where's that located? Is that in Nashville?
Yeah, that's in downtown Nashville on 12th Avenue South.
Oh, okay.
So the book that you did, I know we're jumping all over the place.
Jump away.
Jump
away, big boy. We got more.
I know that you did a book on basically on finding specialty bases, or basically it was like a value guide on
vintage cars.
Vintage. Yeah, here's what it is. Yeah, what I did was I took a few lessons from my old book, meaning the Hard Knock book that says, hey, you do a trade-in and you get taken to the cleaners.
And been there, done that.
I remember being 18 years old and walking into a major music store, names not mentioned, and getting taken to the cleaners by someone none other than Paul Hamer, a la Hamer Guitars, who happened to be working there at the time, who just basically screwed me over. And, so that didn't sit well. For the next 3 or 4 deals that I did at that store, I walked out with things super cheap because I kept holding it over their head. Mm-hmm. Because it's like, I was screwed over here, so what are you going to do to fix it? So that's the Chicago guy in me that comes out periodically. But anyway, I wrote this book with the mindset that you were going to a music store or a vintage guitar show, and you wanted to find that old Rickenbacker, old Fender, old Gibson, whatever. And to look for certain things that if the claim was made that it was this year and it was all original, et cetera, then you would have a pocket guide to figure out if that is actually legit, or if they're trying to take you down the road and you could actually spend a couple grand less. So I've been given a few testimonials on that along the way, where people have told me that they went to a place to find something and they had it with them. And that's wrong. Your price is this. No, it's going to be this.
That's awesome, though.
But that's the whole point, because it's like all of us as musicians, there is a little code of conduct that we have, and we like to try to keep each other's back, And so my purpose there was to make sure that some of the things that I've gone through, and literally some of the garbage and the crap that I've had to deal with, doesn't happen to somebody else unless they're going to let it happen to them. So give them a resource to where they can walk into a place, and at their fingertips, they have the basics enough to know that when they see this thing, it's either legit or not. And the price is commensurate based on its legitimacy. Fair enough.
I mean, being a musician, and done those trades.
Mhm.
And then I had friends in my younger days. I helped out. I used to do some electronic work at a music store.
Mhm.
I seen their books. I seen what they pay for stuff. And then you get these kids coming in trading stuff.
Oh yeah.
And they never liked me helping, doing any of the trades because I'm like going, I would always pay more. It's like this kid coming in is like going, what are you? It's like, well, give him this. It's like, well, I don't know, I'll give him that. I mean, it's just, you're just raping this kid. I mean,
Yeah.
but there again, it's no different in a used car deal situation or anything that we're
Buying real estate.
Yeah, houses,
Same idea.
anything. But there again, musicians seem to look out for each other. And if you get to a store where they're raping you, they're not really musicians. They are basically car dealers. So that's what you gotta watch, and it's one of those things where, I've been in a store here in Evansville where, the woman was trying to sell a Les Paul to a kid that's just getting started. Well, this is what you need. No, you don't need a Les Paul.
Yeah, you need an import Strat or an import guitar just to get started to see if you're actually going to like it.
And if you decide you're going to play, then you're going to get to that point. And
exactly.
It makes you cringe. Anyway,
tell our viewers and listeners the name of that book again.
It's the Pink Bassman's Quick Guide to Buying Vintage Basses.
And do you know the ISBN? No.
I actually didn't. I didn't write that down, but I wrote down a bunch of other stuff. I did find it. You can get it on Amazon. Yeah,
it's on Amazon. Yep, you can get it on the Kindle edition, or you can buy it in print off Amazon.
Awesome.
Cool.
Trust me, if you type in Pink Bassman, it's the only thing that's going to show up in there.
There isn't like a whole thing of Pink Bassman. Is there?
Well, there is there are the T-shirts, the socks, and of course the Barbie dolls. But I
like the one that I saw with the Barbie with the great big long beard. That was kind of cool.
That was heavy metal Barbie.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's right.
That's exactly right. So, tell us about. So, you said you've been in a couple other bands too. Well, you know what? Let's stick on the gear. So, talk us about JD Customs.
Okay, JD Customs are, again, I have to refer or make the reference anyway back to Mark King from Level 42. His use of one of the original first made JD basses really put him over the top. And I have had about 15 of them over the last 5 or 6 years. Currently, I only have one left, but the one I have left is the one where, if you've looked at pictures, it's the one with the LEDs and the frets that flash.
I've seen that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and I used to use that for a specific band, and it's really, I can't say enough about those guys. They're a family business. JD stands for John Diggins. John Diggins is the man. He actually built Tony Iommi's guitars. He's made guitars for Angus from AC/DC. A couple other odds and end people. Roy Orbison had a custom JD guitar before he left us. There's I think 3 generations of Diggins family members that are working there. There's John Diggins, his 2 sons, who are also amazing, great guys, and their sons. So it's a 3-generation family business. And it's a rare thing to see that family involvement like that. But the guitars they make, the basses they make, are just amazing. I mean, I can't speak enough about them because they have a certain feel and a certain vibe, and they emit a tone that is, to me, I can't get it from other basses. So if I know I'm going for something, or if I'm playing with an artist or doing something where I need that tone, I've got it. And I grab that thing immediately. And then as soon as they turn the lights on, everybody goes, ooh, because they're not expecting it, because I don't say anything and I walk out. And I've done crazy gigs where, we're stage black. The whole stage is blacked out because we're getting ready to start the show. And there's a setting on this thing where if I turn it on, I can just barely touch a string and one little light will flash.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I do it a little harder, the rest of the lights start popping. Then before you know it, the whole fretboard is blasting you. So, for the entertainment value of that, or for the entertainment fact of it, it goes over quite well. But as far as what they do, I would recommend those basses to anybody. I mean, they have a 2-year wait. So obviously, they're handcrafting, and literally, aside from some of the metal pieces and some of that, all the wood is hand cut from planks right there in Birmingham, England, in the shop.
Wow.
So they are actual luthiers, not just assemblers or
Right.
some of the other things.
It's not a line of some sort. It's actual luthiers. You know what I'm saying? Where
Yeah, it is legit. It is
Wow.
legitimate woodworking, and the skill that's required to do that is just amazing.
That's
Well, it
badass.
is. It is.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
So what?
I mean,
what's an idea? What does a guitar like that cost? I have no idea.
Don't ask.
you really
It's
want
like
to know?
why?
Yeah, I'm
It's like
sure. I mean, I have no
$10.
idea.
There's a couple different versions of it, a couple different models. Usually they're about $3,000.
That's fair.
Yeah, and then you add the you can add things to it, and the LEDs of course take it up a lot higher. But they're for the price, for the money, for what they are. I mean, I think they're amazing.
Shop Gibson or either a Paul Reed Smith, either that you're going to get into the I know you did the. I know. But like a Paul Reed Smith, you're talking $3,000 for a decent Paul Reed Smith, and that's
it's
decent.
pretty standard. Yeah, I mean you're for
it's a standard price for but actually for a handmade bass that's actually really cheap. I mean,
well, yeah, I mean that's the basic model. I mean, I think you can actually the beginner model, I don't want to call it that, but what they call the roadie model is just a single pickup passive bass, and I think it starts about $1,800 or $1,900.
Still, that's not bad for a handmade bass.
No, and I mean, and they're pretty diabolical. I spent a period of time playing nothing but those, and I mean, I would swap them out. That's why I've had so many of them, and I would always find them used, and the used ones, new ones, it doesn't matter. The build quality is solid, and
wow.
I'd recommend it to anybody.
That's cool.
So, yeah. So I mean, if they see this cool, if not, you can look on their website and then their artist list. I'm the only American who's still alive that plays JD basses.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, they have a bunch of folks from the UK, and of course Roy Orbison before he left, he was on there. Right. But I guess I have my own page up there. They put up there for me.
There you go.
Yeah, it's great stuff.
That's cool. I hope that's not like an omen or anything.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, look at me.
Like, well,
I play these basses, and you need to buy at least every one they put out.
I'm the only American.
And
turning Hollywood.
And my writer says that you must bring me only pink M&Ms and.
That's right.
If they don't have them, you need to spray paint them.
That's
whatever.
Right. Yeah. Use House of Colors so we die faster.
There you go.
Right.
So, you want to talk about Innocent Monday at all, or
sure.
is that?
Yeah, I can tell you a little bit about Innocent Monday. Innocent Monday was a band / project that I partnered with a drummer on, and he and I wrote that record, which kind of came out really sounding like a progressive poppy Peter Gabriel record. And that was due to the fact of the voice. And the drummer was the singer at the time. And we wrote songs that were kind of proggy in the sense that we'd pop time signatures and do crazy things, but it also had a very kind of 80s pop kind of sound to it. And it was purposed. It was intentional because really we wrote that for the European market, because the folks in the European market, they listen to a wider gamut of songs and styles than sometimes the American market does. And they kind of clue in on certain things where the American market says, okay, that's cool. That's yesterday, so today's different. Where, people in other places, they tend to gravitate towards something, and then they kind of sit there and they soak in it for a while. So Innocent Monday kind of was born out of that. It was a trio. The drummer was the singer. The guitar player and I would go and do our paces and have some fun. And so not much to say there. I mean, I folded it up a year ago, a little over a year ago now, due to some concerns. And so, there's a record out there. It's called Stories from the Garden. Again, if you like Peter Gabriel and you like that kind of pop sound and stuff that goes along with that, you'll dig it.
Cool.
Cool. So there's your Innocent Monday moment.
There you go.
Awesome.
Well, now it's time for an Evership moment.
It's an Evership moment. Well, that ship has sailed. It's in the air somewhere right now. Evership. Just kidding. It's launched. Evership actually is the brainchild of a friend of mine that I've known for probably 20, 25 years. His name is Shane Atkinson. He he's another adventurous one. He's very, very deep, cerebral thinker. And he has about 4 albums worth of material floating around in his head at any given point that he's written, that he's created. So the Evership story, I met Shane, 20, 25, something like that, years ago now. And we played together in a band and did some stuff. And we always talked about, how cool would it be if we did a progressive rock album? And, as things go, we kind of fell out of contact. His life and his family took him one direction. My life and family took me a different direction. So I didn't see him for a while. And so leading up to about 2013, he was coming out of a store somewhere, and I walked into him and, oh, it's Shane, big hugs. How you doing? Nice to see you. And he says, you're not going to believe it, but that the Proggy album is a reality. I'd love to talk to you about playing on it if you're still into it. I said, sure. So we sat down over a couple months period of time, and he had this all kind of mapped out, even gave me charts. I mean, I felt like I was reading symphonic, orchestral charts, which was fine because he had certain things that he wanted to do and certain things he was looking for. And so we kind of created this thing. He put it all together, and then I just sat down and put all the bass to it. And that took a couple months because we're talking about, if you haven't heard it, we're talking about 10 to 12 minute songs each.
Exactly.
So do it in phases, do it in parts, record this section, kick this section aside for a minute. So I'm reading this, 10-page chart that's this big and going, okay, let's see, we're at measure 500.
Where am I at?
Yeah. Okay, I need a road map and a magnifying glass. Wait a minute.
Wow.
Google Earth,
Yeah, well, it was fun. And that record actually has some interesting things because here again, the bass I showed you earlier is on that record, as well as a matching fretless that I used to have. So I kind of mixed and intermingled fretted and fretless bass through that. And it's mixed so well, and everything is so layered. It is really hard to tell what's played on there at times because there are layers of sounds and notes and things that kind of mask some of it, because that was Shane's mindset when he was mixing it, because he did it all himself. He mixed it. He wanted it to sound like, again, a vinyl album, an analog recording. So he mixed it a certain way to where it would sound like one. And once again, I didn't bust that one out, but I have it on vinyl as well. You can get it on CD, of course, but they did a 500 run of vinyl, and it's actually a gatefold double album because it took 2 pieces of vinyl to hold the whole thing. And when you drop the needle on that, it sounds like you're stepping into Kansas, Styx, Rush, Yes, Genesis, Camel, and Queen.
I was just going to say, I contacted you earlier in the week, and I remember I telling you about, I was so not just happy to hear about the Slaughter album, but to find that band, because I would have never heard of that band ever in my life. Right, without us having this meeting, with this interview. And I told him, I said, it is a Kansas, yes, early 70s. Then there's some, but it's brought into a modern type feel also.
I felt some Dream Theater in there when I listened to it.
Yeah, Dream Theater is exactly. And but then the Queen and everybody that played it for, I played it for my wife, and she's like, yeah, I can hear Queen in that. And I can hear this. It's just, it's not for everybody, but it's just an awesome sound. I mean, for somebody who likes those type of 70s type albums, it is a great album to listen to.
Yeah, and the funny thing about it is there was a back in April or May, one of the two, there was a festival in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania called Rozfest, Rites of Spring Fest.
Right.
And they come together in this vintage renovated theater, which is really cool. And they put on 3 days of prog rock music by itself. So you have everything from, the Dream Theater type stuff to Evership to Neil Morse, if you've heard his name, and a lot of bands in between. And it's 3 days of nothing but progressive music in all forms. Right. And we actually, as Evership, did a part of that. We were the second band on the Sunday for that festival deal.
Right.
And, it's ironic because there was only 2 gigs prior to that one that we did months and months of rehearsing. The songs are really complex, and
like I said, it just take forever. I mean, they're long. I mean, it's not like it's like listening to 2112.
Pretty
One
much.
song is basically a whole, exactly. It's a progressional song that doesn't really stop.
Yeah, and one of the things that Shane would say, or Bo, he's the singer of Evership, Bo West, he would say, we're gonna play another song for you. In Prague world, that's 3 pop songs. So, because of the length, because the song would be 12 minutes long or 10 minutes long or what have you. And, so I mean, that always, just like you laughed, they did too. Everybody who got a giggle out of that, because it's like, okay, you're about to hear something that stretches, and it's not what you were expecting.
But it's fantastic.
So, we played this. Yeah, we played this festival gig, and I mean, a lot of the people who had told us that they had come to the festival specifically because they wanted to see Evership. Wow. So, we didn't. The beauty of this whole thing was, and this is, I'll bring gear back into it here because I know one of you probably was going to ask about this. For Evership, Shane's mindset was that we would do everything traditional. So literally, there was a real B3. A C something 70, CR CX 70, some vintage, and he had a Yamaha piano and a bunch of mini Moogs, like the real stuff.
Sure.
So he's like surrounded by Keith Emerson, basically. For your listeners who don't know who Keith Emerson is, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, you got homework. Yeah. That's right. And so one of the things that when we were kind of assessing gear needs for Rozfest was, Shane's questions to me were, okay, you got a P bass. Yes. You got a Rickenbacker. Of course. Do you have a double neck? No, but I can get one. And so, if you look on the Pinkbassman Facebook page or whatever, you will see there's me with pink beard and, with big double neck pink bass. So I had the double neck pink bass made initially for Rozfest. And every time I bust this bass out, the jaws hit the floor. It did the same thing at the Slaughter show on Thursday night because, nobody apparently, plays double neck bass, and they don't do it in public if they do. So, there's double neck guitars because I could say, Frank Hannon from Tesla plays a double neck. Adrian Smith from Maiden pulls out a double neck occasionally. Bumblefoot pulls out a double neck. I got to meet him this past weekend. Anyway,
wow.
Yeah,
awesome.
And we swap fretless stories. So, yeah. So, out comes the double neck at Rozfest, and I didn't tell anybody I was bringing it. They saw the Rickenbacker. The Rickenbacker looks like a World War I Art Deco black and white collage. Right. I always go for things that are odd. It's the only bass in the house that's not pink is the Rickenbacker. That's going to change soon. And I pull the double neck out, and the bass players in the room were all busting up to the stage after we were done. Can I see that? Holy cow, what is that? Give me. So here you go. And it was one of those moments. So, but that was the Evership experience. And now Shane is, I believe, somewhere on a desert island trying to pull all of the cerebral parts of album number 2 out. And we haven't talked about yet if I'm going to be involved with that or not going forward. But that's where he is, and that's what's happening for him at this point.
I know we're running low on time real quick, but while we're on the gear stuff, amp-wise, you Ampeg guy?
Yes, I am an Ampeg endorsed artist.
That's why I say I've seen you can't go wrong.
Not at all.
And they're heavy. You got to be a strong man.
Well, I again, if you look out on YouTube somewhere, there's a clip of me with a hot pink or sparkly pink Gibson grabber playing through 2 SVTs and 4 cabinets doing Deuce and She. I had it tuned down. I did the whole Gene thing, and we did it with a candelabra and a smoke machine and funny lights.
I will find that.
Wow, cool.
I'll find
the way they end
I'll send it to Bill. I'll find the link and send it to Bill.
Yeah, please.
And then you guys can watch and giggle because it's on there.
Love to see it.
I had this shirt on when I was doing it. Just
love to see the grabber too.
Cool.
The grabbers are awesome.
Yeah, awesome. I've had a bunch. So I know cool. One last band thing. There is a guy that I'm playing with also. His name is Ryan Weaver. He is a country artist, but he's a country metal artist.
Wow.
And I have a gig with him this next week. I played on some of his singles on his country stuff. And there's a gig this week in Nashville on Friday the 30th for the Nashville Bike Rally, and we're going to go tear it up and play country metal.
There you go. Awesome.
So what is country metal?
Well, you're just going to have to hear it.
It ain't fried chicken and loving tractors and stuff like
Hey,
that.
man, there's no grits in this here country, man. There's no grits in this here country.
What was his name?
Oh, yeah. Ryan Weaver.
Ryan Weaver.
We're only a couple hours from Nashville. One of these days, I'm gonna come down and hook up with you.
Come on.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great to get.
We're a couple hours away. So.
I hope if you're in town, man, I hope you do come to the expo. It'd be cool to hook up and chat with you and stuff. It'd be great.
Yeah.
If that happens, we will make a point of it. If not, I know that the Mark Slaughter Band is planning to do a Nashville date.
Right.
Oh,
So
cool.
There's been some hinting around of some possibilities, maybe with another band that is in the same zone. And, people have asked us for a hometown show. So it's very possible. So, I mean, if you are so inclined and you want to do the couple-hour ride, because I've been to Indy before.
Yeah. It's 2 hours for me. So, yeah, we'll definitely do it.
Yeah. So, I mean, so then I can give you a heads up and you can flow this direction. Totally cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, be awesome.
Yeah.
Be awesome.
Yeah.
Man, thank you very much. This has been a great show. We were all three looking forward to it.
Exactly.
It's been last week whenever I got that message, I was like, oh. Because what I was really afraid of was it was going to be that was it, and then never going to hear from you again. Because we've had that happen.
And the whole point was
I try to be punctual that way.
Yeah, I really appreciate your professionalism and just being a cool guy to at least keep reaching out and responding to text messages and calls. That's awesome. So it's been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. So we get people fingers
Jaymi,
and
first one thing, start just everything that you want to promote. Go for it, dude.
Yeah, I was going to say pimp your websites and stuff.
Promotion time. Okay, well, there's Pink Bassman Music, pinkbassmanmusic.com. And then there's on Facebook, there's the Jaymi Pink Bassman bass page. So there's basses, there's music, all the stuff that goes up there, all links in there. I've got a personal page on there too. I mean, there's other stuff on there as well, so I can be looked up there. On YouTube, I am Bass Jaymi, BassJaymi. I've got gear videos. I check out basses and then I play them and talk through them and twiddle the knobs and change the pickups. And I've sold a lot of basses for people that way, myself included, as well as some companies. Let's see, what else? Other than that, I would say, if you're looking for Slaughter stuff, empmerch.com is for Slaughter stuff. If you want to buy Evership, it's evership.com. I pulled the Innocent Monday websites because that's only on, you can get that through iTunes if you really want it, or I think it's still on Amazon. There you have it.
Cool.
So it's all pink basses for everybody.
they didn't let me get there. I was going to go there, but they were like freaking out. So, I was about to pitch to him and say, if you guys, if there's
I know. Well, sorry, to steal your thunder. Bill wanted to do it.
No, it's cool. It's like you guys are freaking out. I'm like,
God of Thunder.
Oh yeah,
I've done this once.
And rock and roll. Yes.
Thank you, Jaymi, so much. We really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you guys. I appreciate it as well.
All right, folks. Is that going to get us out of here?
I think that's going to get us out of here.
Jaymi, stay around for a minute.
Yep, I'm going nowhere.
Visit us on agesofrock.com. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Ear Peeler just kind of tells everywhere where we are. So until next week, peace out. Thanks for listening to the Ages of Rock podcast. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and most importantly, tell all your friends. Remember, you're never too old to rock. Until the next episode, peace out, folks.